Welcome to another episode of Finding Love. We always pull from different areas of life, and sometimes it's just the conversation. And this one got me thinking, it's no way opposites can attract. So recently we had the pleasure of having a conversation, and I'm just going to give you his stats a little bit, just so you know exactly who we were talking to. A 29-year-old black man who is a twice Ivy League graduate with a thriving literacy business.
Yes.
And he cool.
Yeah.
Okay, because you got to add that, because some people you already were like, twice Ivy League,
Yeah.
literacy business. Nope, she's talking to a nerd. No, he cool and he good looking, okay?
Yeah.
And we were just talking about him dating and kind of just going through the normal conversations of why this one didn't work, what worked best in that relationship. And as he's talking, I'm like, the conclusion is like, ding, 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 ding. You need someone like you. Like, how can you expect a woman who barely graduated high school to have the emotional intelligence or IQ even to talk about the things that you're passionate about, right?
Or even understand what you're going through. You're jetting around the country, going from this state to this state, going from this school system to this school system, meeting with high-level league offices, and you need somebody to be able to empathize with that. That's just one phase of the relationship, right?
Man.
So like you said, you kind of need somebody that can, understand even a portion of that and intellectually being able to go to that level.
Yeah. Because we started talking about what are his requirements, right? Because everybody has them. And, of course, he's a very well-spoken young man, so he's not like, I don't have, like, these requirements. Okay, boy, what you like, And without saying it verbatim, he does want somebody he's attracted to, right? He wants somebody that's God-fearing. Yeah. He wants these things that are very, very important to any relationship. But what I kept wanting to know more about and kind of trying to pull out of him was, have you been dating someone with the same values and hobbies and passions as yourself? Because in entrepreneurship, that alone, it creates a little bit more of a niche dating pool than what you are. You can't just go out there casting that, I don't think. I don't think someone can understand why you have your laptop in the bed tonight, or why you woke up in the middle of the night and wrote down an idea because your wheels are turning, or the fact that you're going to make this risky decision that may not bring in as much money, but I'm just supposed to understand this? Your money gonna be up one month and down the next? How?
Yeah.
So that mindset of entrepreneurship is something else that he has to battle. And along with that, it's like, okay, you have this Ivy League background, right? So maybe he's being introduced to other Ivy Leaguers who a lot of times have grown up with that American dream of, you get this great education from this great school and you get to have your pool of jobs in corporate America opened up to you. So the fact that he's saying, I don't want any of those plush jobs, probably high paying, great jobs at great firms, I want to do my own thing, is going to not only confuse a lot of people, but it's going to actually seem as if something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
Oh, no, this boy, entrepreneurship is not something that I think you share with every type of person.
And one of the things he told me is that I think it's also challenging for him to try to shift gears because he has been so passionate about this business ever since his undergraduate years, and his primary focus has been growing it, right? You're bouncing around city to city, state to state, and you are constantly thinking on a level of how do I make the most high-level priority in my life right now, outside of my family, my business, thrive. And I don't want anybody to get in the way of that.
That's good. And that's why I think that you have to date someone with that entrepreneurial mindset. Because someone who's like, I need all of your time, or, my love language is quality time, and if you can't show up for me every single day, she's out the running. She's out. Yeah. And then, the woman who's like, well, maybe she's a doctor, and her set schedule is from 9 to 9, and she's like, I don't got that many hours.
Right.
So when I'm off, I need to be able to communicate with you, but you might be on in a different state. So having that level of flexibility to your schedule and that mindset, right? That's a mindset shift, is something that I think will niche down his dating pool, and it's not in a bad way.
Yeah, and I also think that if you look at just saying, okay, let's connect from the entrepreneurial mindset, okay, and being a small business owner, I think that is one facet. But I think there are also different buckets that you have, right? Yeah. And I think it's the sum of all of them.
Agreed.
Where you want to have the connection.
Yes.
Because maybe his potential person isn't an entrepreneur.
Right.
But it is somebody who's understanding. And it is somebody who has all of these other things that they hold value, that he holds value in, where they can connect, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's family, whether they both like hip hop, whether they both like playing tennis, right?
And speaking of those buckets, one thing about his business is that it's also a passion project. So not only does he have, maybe she's an entrepreneur, maybe she just is flexible or understanding, like you said, but he has this passion project where it's about literacy in young people. If she is just as passionate, I bet any amount of money that she'd be like, baby, do what you do.
Right.
Innovate, go create, do this thing so that our passion can align and be better for the world.
That's
right?
Yeah.
So the buckets is something that is absolutely a thing. But it kind of takes us back to how we started dating and why this conversation got so good with him. Because I was like, wait, let me think about this. How did we do this thing?
Yeah.
And I was like, So tell them, this your favorite story. Jenny was all into you.
Well, I mean, if you really want to be honest about it, okay? Reflection is key.
Whatever.
I have to tell the story as it is a fact-based story. So if you go back about 10 years ago, okay? Let's just go there. Me and Jenny start dating, getting into, a little routine of hanging out.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling her, right? I'm feeling her. I think she's feeling me. We're dating. We're having these, in-depth conversations that go long like so many other people. Yeah. But I think the secret sauce was when her interests were my interests, or at least her interests became my interests. And let's just go down a couple, okay? So, for example, we're spending all this time together, and guess what? I work out. She does work out too, but in a non-pushy fashion, she says, okay, well, if you're going to work out, I can roll with you. I'm like, cool, let's go work out. So we go hit our Planet Fitness, and she hangs. She does the workout that I do with my guys with me.
Yeah.
Okay, check the list, and I enjoy it, right? Sometimes we don't know what we want until we experience it. Then we realize that's what we want.
Facts.
Okay? And so I realized I like working out with her. That becomes part of the routine. Probably not too long after that, because this is also in the early stages of dating. But I'm also realizing that I'm enjoying this, but not taking it too serious where it's like, okay, this is my person. She's going to be my wife. But it is something different because I just had never experienced anything like it.
Yeah.
One of the other things was I was going to go to the driving range. Not too long after, because this summer I said I am going to work on my golf game. And so she was like, oh, you want to play golf? I'm like, all right, you want to go? Come on. And guess what? I take her there, and I'm working on my game about 5 minutes in, and I look over at her, and I'm like, she got a pretty decent swing. I can help her. Okay? So that, of course, that entire time that I'm supposed to be working on my game, I'm working on her game. But guess what? She's into it. I'm into helping her. Yeah. And that becomes a thing for us in the summer, too. Yeah. So you hadn't played golf in several years, but she's an athlete, you know? And so now we're working out together, right? Now we're hitting the driving range together. Yeah. You know, I'm working on her game. You know, she becomes a passion project for me. I'm like, I can work with this. Yep. And then, in addition to that, I've, mentioned this before. I had a sacred college football Saturday. But guess what happens when you start intertwining your life with somebody and you start enjoying it? When it becomes a thing where you guys work out together, where you guys put your hobbies together. And college football Saturday, nevertheless, becomes a part of the routine. But a fun routine, right? Yeah. Not a, mundane routine. Yeah. We look forward to it. Yeah. We're going to go pick up some good carry out. We're going to sit down. And so now our lives become intertwined. Our hobbies become intertwined. And our common interests, they come together. Yeah. And if they come together, and we come together. Yeah. And that is a part of why we also double down on why, no, we're not going to go with the old saying of opposites attracts. I don't know where that came from, and I probably have said it at least 10 times in my past because that's just a saying. Right. But you don't have to have everything exactly alike. I believe I can say, and I double down, that the more you have in common, the more you guys can have a foundation. Absolutely. That you guys can kind of grow together. Yeah. Does my story of us check out?
Little check.
Okay, come on. Check the
no,
box.
Seriously, but it really, and even when we were talking about that and talking through how we kind of shared these interests and these hobbies and this time together, that was before we had little ones. Yeah. You had Cam, and I wasn't introduced to Cam just yet. Yeah. But we were just living life, right? Yeah. Now, fast forward to thinking about marriage and thinking about a thriving marriage. You think about two people with careers. You think about family, little ones around. You get so much into a daily routine of cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids, taking the kids to school, picking the kids up from school, preparing for the next day of school, making sure you got all your work done, that you really only got a couple hours realistically in a day where it's just you two, right? If you don't have a workout session together that you guys are both into, or can go to the driving range, can discuss the latest movie or show, your favorite show that you guys watch together, what happens? Yeah. You go to sleep and the next day happens. And the next day happens, and the next day happens, and the next day happens. And it's so often where, you see people who have been married for 20 years and they split. Well, the kid's gone. Or maybe they went into retirement. Life and changes and seasons change where they're like, I don't like you. Yep. I don't really want to be around you. Yeah. And that's when it got me thinking about, how can someone that is, a very well-educated entrepreneur with a passion project date someone with a little 9-to-5, no real educational background, and is needy with his amount of time? That's right. It can't work. It can't work. And in our conversation, we talked about cultural differences and, how people of other races and stuff be looking fine. Yeah. But you don't celebrate Christmas? You don't believe in Jesus Christ, not just God. You know, like you start going down this little rabbit hole of the differences in just cultures.
That's right.
That gets daunting and can be a strain on a relationship. So you put another layer onto that and another bucket into that, and we don't have nothing in common.
That's the challenges of it, and that's what we have to call it, challenges. Now, is it impossible? It's not impossible, but you also have to have those other pieces to outweigh those challenges, because we also found out recently that somebody that was in a very serious relationship, a family friend of ours who was really contemplating marriage with somebody, he was dating somebody for almost 8-9 years, and she's Muslim, and her family was pressing so hard for him to convert, so much so that it broke the relationship, or at least was a significant part in breaking the relationship.
Yeah.
And so now, guess what? They're no longer together. Was it impossible for them to make it? But no, that was a challenge. So understanding those challenges, are you up for it? But also going back to what you said about marriage, man, and I think a lot of people have to understand that marriage is challenging, but marriage is so much worth it, because you can get lost in the sauce of the routine where you are spending legit sometimes an hour, 2 hours a day with your spouse of alone time tops, like sometimes less, and you can get lost in that vicious cycle. And when it's all said and done and you look up, you guys have not had anything in common. You are just making it work, and you are not making it worth it. Okay, because what we're talking about is a thriving marriage, going into something that is thriving and having those commonalities where you have something that you can build on. You have a relationship that is thriving, then you can always get back to a place of saying, this is why we are passionate about each other. Right? And that's really what all of finding love is about. It's about what are the steps you need to take, what are the things you need to look at. It's gaining a new perspective on what it looks like to be thriving. And in a matter of, and I think we should define thriving a little bit. A thriving marriage is that marriage that, you know, the outside looking in, you smile. That's right.
Because you just want them to win. You also want them to be great, right? A thriving marriage, they have fun, they're best friends, they vacation together, they do things together, and they bring each other joy.
That's right.
Not just companionship or financial stability or, you know, the counterpart to the parenting situation. They bring each other joy. And a part of joy is really making sure that you are happy within yourself. And a part of being a best friend and a counterpart is making sure you are your best self. And so that support of one another is huge in a thriving marriage. And it just gets that much harder if you ain't got nothing in common. Nothing in common.
And the other piece is this: when you're able to do things that you love to do exclusively by yourself, with somebody that you love so much, when you put that together, that equation equals a foundation that is building of strength and that of loyalty, in which you are bonding together. You guys are forging yourselves together, because you learn as a child a lot of the time, why do you have these close friends? You have these close friends because you guys develop relationships through experiences and through things you like to do. You guys were playing outside, or you guys spent time together. So now when you're able to do this, spend this time and create this friendship with your spouse, now, like you said, we have things in common, and that can be the foundation of the entire family. That's the nucleus.
That just really got me thinking about the way that we go into new friendship bonds and the way that we go into potential relationships. They should be similar. The same way you cultivate a relationship with a new person of the same sex, right? Like if one of my girlfriends, hey girl, just checking on you. You were on my mind. Hey, you want to go get coffee? Hey, the kids, want to get the kids together this weekend? That same intentionality of checking in, making conversations, getting to know them should not differ because I'm looking for a husband or I'm looking for a wife.
Right.
And I think that that's sometimes the problem. Because when you have a friend, you're trying to give them all of you. They get your silly self. You're going to say, girl, let me tell you about my day today.
Right.
You know, but when you're trying to date for the end goal of marriage, and let me say that again, because end goal is not marriage, it's the lifetime together. But when you're dating for the end goal of marriage, you often find yourself being your representative, saying all the right things, making sure you've got your list on the table so they know your intentions. And it just doesn't go to where you need it to go. And it stops you from even developing the conversation necessary in order to get to a relationship, and definitely stops you from getting towards a thriving marriage.
No, and even the young brother we were talking about, he even said he had the self-awareness looking back on the relationship, and he was like, you know what? I was with her because man, she was just cold. She was bad. You know? She was bad, right?
I loved it.
And I think a lot of the time we look at a potential relationship like a work of art.
Yeah.
Something that is over there.
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, even with the fellas, you know, we look at something that is exotic. Oh, she's exotic. It's over there. But when you bring it in close, and you look at it up close, you have nothing in common. So once you guys start peeling back the layers of each other, you wonder why it doesn't fit. And I think that is sometimes an issue when trying to find somebody to date. We're trying to look for something that is just so unfamiliar to us that it is nothing like us. And what we're talking about is that if you have somebody that has similar interests and things that are like you, then guess what? We can find those bonds and friendships like you're talking about.
I also think, and I use the word niche, sorry, the businesswoman in me is still like, but you kind of can narrow down the pool when you start to think about the things that are going to matter most to you. So if you're thinking about family, right? You should talk to someone that has similar familial, maybe upbringings or ideas of what they want out of their family.
We were both big on family.
Big. You know, definitely someone who wants children. It does not work if one person wants children and the other one don't. Like, even if you say, I'll just take care of it by myself, it just doesn't work. You know? And right there, some people bypass those simple nuances of, do we both want children because the other one fine? Or because this person checks all these other boxes. I say it so often because I mean it wholeheartedly. He added boxes I didn't know I needed. I didn't even know I wanted these things. But I'm like, oh, that's a new one. Let me write that down. That's on my new box, you know? And I think that the person who made opposites attract, maybe they were talking scientifically or something, but also maybe they had gotten so tired of dating the same type of person, they was like, let me try to find something now. Let me see what these other people be like. But I just have never seen it work. And I love this platform because I want to invite you guys, because I know it's somebody out there like, no.
That's right.
Me and my man, or me and my woman. And I would love to hear your story. It's so interesting. We would want to even share that perspective. I just don't even know how we get to the friendship stage if we don't have anything in common, and how we get through the toughness of marriage and the busyness of being career people with families if our 1 to 2 hours a day that we have together alone are what? you reading and me watching TV by myself. Like, it doesn't work, guys.
Speaking about the practices, I think that's another thing, because I think in marriage too, there are going to be arguments, there are going to be disagreements. And if you have no similar interests of how to get back to a place of conversing, a place of thriving, it's going to be extremely difficult. Yeah. One thing that I see in marriages, when people have set date nights, or people have tennis on Tuesdays, and people have golf with their wife on Sunday, like we just had. When you have those things to do together, no matter if there was a disagreement the night before, no matter if there was an argument the night before, guess what we have? We got tennis on Tuesday.
Right.
And those type of moments can allow us to get back to a place where we're back on track. Because you do have to get back on track in marriage. And if you have nothing in common and you guys are already isolated from each other in interests, you're going to be isolated from each other in disagreements. So if those two pieces of isolation are happening, how do you get back together?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And I think that's sometimes the problem with marriage in the past. And that's what we have to understand, is that just like time has evolution, there's evolution in marriage. So marriage today in 2024, we are not going to own the marriage of 1954. No. Right, babe? No. We trying to take it to the next level, because I also think there have been misconceptions even set in our own mind of what we thought marriage was based on our grandparents or even our parents. And if we just accept that, then how can we move forward?
And honestly, this might be another conversation, but I think that's why the divorce rate in the Black community is so high, and even disproportionately to the national average. And it's because we don't really have any examples. Like, if you did have a great-grandparent or a grandparent that were married forever, you never seen them happy.
Not necessarily.
Paw was just paying the bills. And he had a whole nother family on the side too. So it's like, well, I don't want that. And that's the only marriage I've ever seen work. Why do I think that I'm going to be this outlier? And I think that the positive side of that is knowing that you're going into it for the right reasons. You're going into it with someone that you have a friendship with. It's so hard to break up with a friend, but it's easy to tell a little nappy head boy, don't call me no more, but you're going into it with the intentionality of forever. You're not going into it so you can have the best Instagram wedding, or you have the best, TikTok videos about getting ready for your proposal, whatever. Like, you're going into it because I want to leave a legacy of what marriage looks like to my little ones and my family and generations to come. And eliminating that, you are stopping yourself from the biggest blessing of your life. And in communicating those things on the very front end is how you figure out what those commonalities are. I can't leave without saying that I am not talking about, like, there can't be some disjointedness. Like, for instance, I love to read, but my husband wants to talk about the books with me, right? Because the interests of the books are our interests. So it's not like, he doesn't like murder mysteries and he doesn't like to read, and now I'm trying to read a book about sports, maybe. Whatever. Like, or I love sports, but he can talk about where they went to college, high school, they stats. I don't really care about none of that. I want to know who goes to the playoffs, who's in the finals. I want the real competitive nature of sports. That's when I'm in it. Like, let's go, right? He gonna say all the stats. He got projections probably for 2025. Like, what are you talking about? So it's not like having similar interests means that you have to have the same exact taste of everything. But it does mean that you want to come together and experience different things on different levels with each other. So our health goals, our financial goals, our just overall wellness goals are similar. So how we get there, we work through together. And that is something that I think is going going to really speak to the longevity of our marriage and anybody else who takes our advice.
And you said it does not have to be exact, because there are exceptions to every rule. Yeah. But if you look at it, we do believe that you have to have a common interest in core values. We both believe heavily in family. Yes. We both believe heavily in loyalty. Yeah. And we both believe in being dedicated to our marriage. Yes. And to each other in our marriage. Yes. Right? And yes. Constantly being here for each other. Right? That is a common interest, and that's a common goal that binds us together. Yes. Okay? And guess what else we have the luxury of having, which I believe is so important? We have common interests. Yeah. Right? We both enjoy playing golf. Yeah. Right? We both enjoy playing tennis. And that's another example, because although I never played tennis before, I was open. I'm also open to her interests and trying the things that she likes. So when we decided to try tennis together, guess what? We both found out this is something we both enjoy. And what better to do things you like to do by yourself than with your spouse. Yeah. And so when you have those similar interests and you have those similar values, we double down on having those values and interests and beliefs and having them together. That allows you, we believe, to be a cohesive unit. And being a cohesive unit in marriage, that is what it is all about. Absolutely. And another thing, you said belief, so it just made me have to say this. Like, I remember, waking up and going to church on Sundays regularly, and you weren't going to church. Not at all. And I believed so strongly that my husband would lead me in my spiritual walk. So you're not going to church. I'm like, I don't know if this is going to work. I remember even telling my pastor, like, I don't know about this one. He said, I remember this like it was yesterday. He said, you think Sister Mormon found me like this? And when he said it in the way he said it, it just opened my eyes up to what he clearly saw in you himself, right? And this is somebody that I revere and love and look to for advice. And he said that Pastor James L. Mormon said, yes. You think found me like this? Thank you, Pastor. And I was like, oh, yeah, I did. What you talking about? That's right. And now you lead us spiritually, you lead us in our household, but that was something that I feel like I might have showed you the way for, like, all right, go and take the lead now, and now you do that. And so it doesn't have to be so cookie cutter for what these commonalities are or what you think is on your boxes and your checklist. It can be what you grow into, because I didn't know that college football Saturdays would be like completely my every Saturday, and my little kids would know that they can't watch nothing on Saturdays because it's football day. I didn't know that going into it, or I didn't know that, golf would be as enjoyable for me. I'm naturally competitive, so I'm like, I want to try it. I want to be good at it. I want to be better than the next person, but I genuinely enjoy it. Right. So it's like all of these things, you don't know what you don't know. Yeah. So don't be so stuck in your box, but also don't be out there casting that net far and wide, knowing that there are certain things that just won't work for the long term of your lives together. But I think just having this conversation here, we can absolutely declare that being open, sincerely open to an interest or to a belief, right? Yeah. Or to a value is also an attribute. And I think me and you both have been open to each other and continue to be open to new, especially new interests and things like that. So that's the other side of it. That's the other side of the coin, is saying, look, we do not believe that opposites attract. No. But if you are open to something, then guess what? That is also a quality and an interest. And so making sure that you stay open, and also having the perspective of, hey, I want to make it worth it. I don't just want to make it work. And so with that, Thank you for joining us for another episode of Finding Love. As you know, at this segment of the episode, it is time to toast.
Let's go. So I want to toast to being able to find a space with you where I feel like we can set the example, we can provide new perspective, and we can open your minds up to thinking about what it actually takes to be in a long-lasting, thriving marriage. Marriage is dope. It is the way to go. Don't ever let anybody tell you differently. And you deserve it. You deserve your person. So stay open to making sure that you are looking at the qualities in the other person that make it worth it, not just make it work. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for tuning in. It has been a journey of love, of understanding, of vulnerability, and we are just so appreciative that you have joined us for another episode of Finding Love.
And we want to invite you into our Finding Love community. And one of the best ways to do that is clicking that subscribe button right down there.
If you want to tune in with us more, kick it with us more, learn more about Finding Love, we definitely want you to follow us on all social media at I Am Finding Love. And I am Jenny L. Hendricks on all social media platforms. Jenny with an I, L. Hendricks with an IX.
Hey, there you go, baby. And mine is Stephen Hendricks, #1. And also, for anybody's listening to us on one of these amazing podcast platforms, please rate, review, comment. We really appreciate you. We gonna